we're talking about self-worth, you can't teach that in a linear way. Self-worth is very, very multidimensional. There are so many forces that come into our identity, how we interpret, how we process, how we perceive, our patterns, what we model. There's so many. And that the only way you can teach someone about self-worth is to get it yourself. Right? So the places within you where you feel insecure, you give yourself criticism, you feel guilt about things, that's okay. That's just part of the process of learning and unfolding. But we want to start having a relationship to it, because it's sort of like, imagine I never did any work and I just read a book and came here to talk about it. You would know, like, it just seems one-dimensional, basically. If I had no life experience somehow, and here I am, information. And so that is the important piece, is that it's multidimensional. We have to be able to do the work. Now, it's also important to get that it really takes time, and it really is layer by layer by layer, because as they develop, they have more capacity to understand things. Then there's certain parts of adolescent development where it seems like kids take a step back, right? If you have teenagers, you're like, wait, what just happened? And that's part of, simply put, brain development. That does happen too, and there's a lot of things that go on with that. But we have to be really patient, because it took you a long time, and look, you all made it. And yeah, you have your struggles, but you actually showed up and you're here. In fact, you really represent a very substantial paradigm shift, because your parents probably wouldn't have come to this. You're willing to take a look at yourself, and that's a whole different relationship to showing up as a human being. We're saying, I want to heal my lineage, heal what I have, and then show up with that. So layer by layer and on time, and remember that your children are going to get so knocked hard by the school of hard knocks. All of your children will get knocked hard. Yes. Because that's what life does to each and every one of us. So our job is to be as integrated of a human being as we can, so we can teach our children how to deal when the knocks come knocking. Right? And so they have their own spiritual path. Some of your kids are struggling, and yes, we want to try to find a way to support them. Absolutely. But we also have to understand that that struggle is part of their own spiritual grist for the mill. It's like, how did you become so wise in the ways you're wise, compassionate or deep in the way you're compassionate and deep? School of hard knocks. Perhaps begrudgingly so, for most of it. Even still, and probably in a lot of ways. So you are by far the best conduit. And so another way to say this is that the tool we're going to use is you, to teach them, but also that the mistakes you make as a parent, the areas you miss, the unresolved emotional stuff that just kind of makes it across and kind of gets into the matrix with your kid, that's okay. Because that is part of the opportunity to say, oh, I can actually model saying, I'm sorry, here's what came up for me, here's how I am working on that. Imagine your parents had a moment with you where it was conflict and they said, oh, I'm so sorry. Here's what came up for me and here's how I'm working on it. Right? But just that, if your parents said it once to you, you'd be like, I remember that time. It was 76 degrees out and I was standing on the corner of, right? You remember it burned into your brain, right? It's that we can easily judge the struggle that somebody has and say, oh my God, this is where it's going. You have no idea. So many things your parents were concerned about you worked through it. Maybe you had to go through it, but you worked through it.